All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Crazy Talk. For those of you who don't know, or if this is your very first episode, Crazy Talk is a Facebook Live TV show where I bring in guests from all over the world to talk about all sorts of things mental health related, because everyone has mental health and it's so important for us to keep talking about it. So that's what Crazy Talk is about. I am your host, Lee Thomas. That's me. And today we are joined by Monique Ellis. Hi, Monique. How's it going?
Great. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, thanks. So Monique is a health coach who is joining us live from beautiful Rossa, New Brunswick. Thank you so much for being on the show, Monique. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Monique, we talked about Monique and I just had like this amazing conversation backstage, and I'm really hoping we can capture some of that magic on here as well. But let's start out by some of our viewers might not necessarily know what a health coach is. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do as a health coach?
Sure. As a health coach, I help women who feel overwhelmed and discouraged. I help them gain control. Working together, we actually bring back their smile. And that's huge because a lot of the times women don't always feel good about themselves. So I get them to the good place.
Oh, that's awesome. And you mentioned women specifically. And so, of course, this is a show about mental health, which is very much a part of the kind of holistic health picture. So what kind of, I guess, unique challenges are there for women when it comes to feeling good about themselves or feeling positively about themselves?
It's inner dialogue. The body believes everything we tell it. And I have found that, and this is with men and women, we don't always talk nice to ourselves. And some of the things that we will say to ourselves, we would never say to anybody else. And keeping in mind, we hang around with ourselves 24 hours a day. So there's no getting away from it. So if we allow ourselves to talk negatively about ourselves, we believe it. And then when somebody else says something negative to us, it just confirms our belief. So it's so important to work on changing how we see ourselves. When we look in the mirror, it's all about loving yourself and liking what the person that's looking back. And then you can move forward. But until you can fall in love with the person that you're looking at in the mirror, it's a difficult road.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of the times we kind of live in a world of two extremes. You know what I mean? It's like I either like am told that I should hate myself or I'm told that I should love myself. And there really isn't a lot of gray area in terms of like working from that self-loathing to that place of self-love. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. And I really coach the importance of self-care, and how it's so important to take time for yourself. And years ago, I was one of those people that when I saw somebody that was going to the gym every day, and going, getting their hair done, doing the nails, and just her version of self-care, I used to look at them and think, oh, well, they're selfish. It's all about them. I didn't understand the importance of it. And no, they weren't selfish. They just loved themselves enough to put themselves first. And that doesn't mean that self-care has to be going to the spa every day and things like that. It can be as simple as soaking in a hot tub with some remote control candles and some YouTube instrumental music. Like, it doesn't have to cost money. Sitting there reading a book doesn't have to, it doesn't cost money. But anything that you can do to sit back and relax and love being with yourself, bonus. And again, I was one of those people that would look at somebody that really focused on their self-care, and I judged. And who was I to judge? They were doing it right. Meanwhile, I was beating my head up against the wall.
So how did you make that transition, I guess, from being that person who was like, self-care is selfish, to being that person who is like, self-care is not selfish, we should absolutely be encouraging everyone to do self-care? Like, how did you make that transition? Because that's a big leap.
It's a crazy leap, and if anybody that knows me, it has been such a transformation for myself because I was a workaholic. I was just work, 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 and you have to get better. You have to get better, and I push, 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 and I would push my team and coach. Like I was coaching them. I was coaching them to be the best, and um, I my health, like I could feel myself not feeling as well as I should, but I couldn't give up. I had so much coaching to do to improve a team. And my income was going up, which everybody would be like, oh yeah, my income's going up, but my health was going down. I thought, well, there's going to come a time where if I don't have my health, that income isn't going to mean anything. So I know the benefits of coaching. Coaching works. And, sometimes people don't like feedback, but the reality is coaching gets you to where you need to be. If you have a goal in mind and you get yourself a coach, you're working with a coach, they'll get you to that goal. You work together. So I thought, okay, you know what? I've been on every diet. I see a dietitian. I went to a dietitian once, and believe you me, she's amazing. And now we work together. She does the dietary things. I keep people on track. But I went to her, and I gained 4 pounds. And she comes, I have my meeting with her, and she's like, oh, Monique, that's okay. Life happens. That's okay. I come out of the room, and I'm like, no, that is not okay. Somebody's got to hold me accountable. And it was almost like a light bulb moment, thinking, okay, you know what? You need to get yourself a coach, somebody that will work with you, hold you accountable to stay on track and reach the goals. So then it come down to, okay, I've coached for 20 years, so I'm a pretty strong coach. And I thought, well, okay, how am I going to hire somebody that I know is going to be able to coach my type of personality? And I did some research, and I thought, well, I don't want to just throw my investment out the window. So I got to get the best. And then I'm like, well, geez, they recognize me all the time for being one of the best coaches. If I could coach myself, that would be perfect. And did some more research, and I found a place out of the United States, Health Coaching Institute, that offered a health coaching program, and looked into it some more. And I thought, you know what, this is for me, because what it does, it keeps me on track. Every time I go through the program with one of my clients, I start back at square one, because I very much lead by example. So if I have them saying, if I say to them, we should really increase our water, then Monique's increasing her water. And it's a win-win for me. So it's perfect, because it does keep me on track. And what I've learned I was an awful binge eater, because I would work long hours. And I could go a long period of time, because I didn't know when I was going to be able to get lunch or a break, because we were always so busy. So the minute I got off work, and by the time I got home, I would walk in the door and I would binge eat, and I couldn't get full. And now, because nobody ever told me that what you eat and your exercise are only half the equation. I didn't know about the other side of the equation until I started taking this health coaching course. So now that I am aware of that, I eat for nourishment, not for comfort. So the weight falls off naturally. I don't have to follow any kind of strict, routine or dietary program, because now I just eat for nourishment. And it's because I focus so much on self-care, whereas before I never put 1 ounce of effort into self-care.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, my background in mental health, I work a lot with eating disorders and disordered eating and body image and that sort of thing. So I think there's probably, and you as the health coach, I'm sure, are aware of this, like there's so much more to health than just weight, right? Like there's so many different aspects to health in terms of, the amount of water that we drink and whether or not we're, smoking. And these are all things that are coming out of my own personal experience now. So I'm just going to call myself out on all of these things. But the idea of health being kind of a holistic thing and rather than a strict thing, I think it's really important kind of deviation from the narrative that we're given by society.
Oh, so true. You can be healthy at any size, but you have to be able to feel it. And when I took this course, and it was the craziest thing ever, I started feeling healthy on the inside. So it was from the inside out. Whereas before, any type of program I was going on, I would start losing weight, feeling better, and I would feeling healthier on the outside, not in. And nobody ever talks about self-sabotage. And I didn't know anything about that until I took the health course. Because most of us, we go on these programs and, everything, you're keener, you're losing the weight, or you're feeling better. Maybe you're going to the gym 5 times a week, whatever it is that, you part of your program. And once you hit your goal, well, then you start going backwards. 97% of people gain either their weight back or go back to their old habits, within the first year or two of any type of program. And that it's frustrating. It's discouraging. That's where the health coaching comes in, because I work on helping my clients change habits and break the behaviors that they were used to. So we just create new behaviors. That's the new normal.
And I think like that idea of change kind of having to be inside out, because like as someone who lived with a lot of unhealthy relationships around like food and around exercise and all that kind of stuff, there was a lot of this pressure to be like, once you lose the weight, you will be happy, or once you lose the weight, you will feel better, or once you do this, you will, as opposed to saying, once you feel better, your life will change, as opposed to saying, once you change your life, you will feel better. Does that make sense? Does that differentiation make sense?
It totally does. And you don't even sometimes realize it until you start feeling better on the inside, because now you're falling in love with yourself. So when you're looking at the full package, you're loving that person, and it's just a whole. It's not either or. It's together, right? And you have to. We tend to put ourselves last, and again, some people think that the self-care is selfish, and it couldn't be further from the truth. If you take the time and focus on yourself, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can put it on others. And when you run yourself to the point of overwhelm and just to the point where you were so discouraged, then you don't have a whole lot to give. And when you fill your own tank and you only give from your overflow, you're giving so much more. Your everything's working better. You're more creative. Your thoughts are more positive. And a lot of times it can be a matter of reframing thoughts. And that's how, as a coach, I had someone the other day talk to me about how lonely New Year's Eve was, and they're dreading Valentine's Day. They don't have a significant other in their life. And I said, well, doesn't have to be that way. What if we planned a party? And they looked at me like I'm crazy, right? I'm like, you're not the only person that doesn't have a significant other. So rather than dread Valentine's Day, why don't we celebrate it with getting a group of like-minded people together? Maybe go for coffee, maybe go for a movie, dress up. Let's plan a special Valentine's party, our own date. And she looked at me and she's like, wow, I could do that. And I'm like, yes, you could. So a lot of times it's just reframing thoughts.
Yeah. And like changing the stories that we're telling ourselves. Absolutely. And that's usually the way
Exactly.
that, yeah. Sometimes that like the stories that we tell ourselves can be reinforced by society a lot of the time. Like going back to, you talked about being like a workaholic, and I've definitely been in jobs where I've had, again, an unhealthy relationship with the amount of work that I was doing, and thinking that, I have to kind of be driving myself into the ground in order to be a good employee or whatever it is. And I feel like a lot of the time society kind of reinforces that. Like they're like, oh, did you, work 20 hours today? Good for you, kind of thing. Instead of going, did you work 20 hours today? What are you doing? Take some time for yourself. Go to bed. Like,
Oh, very much so. And I think that as employees, I mean, everybody wants to be recognized. You want to feel like, oh, if I give this company 150% of myself, man, oh man, are they going to appreciate me? And, just fireworks all the time. Yahoo, you're a great employee. And a lot of companies do have the recognition programs. And I was fortunate that I always got won those recognition programs, a lot. So in that sense, I was recognized. But I can tell you that the day I gave my notice, my manager had called to congratulate me on being recognized for Manager of the Year for 2016. And I said, well, thank you very much. And of course, you won a trip with that as well. I said, so I want to thank you for the recognition. I love it. I said, and I'm going to take that title with me. That's bragging rights. I said, but I'm going to give you my 3 weeks notice here now. And I would have liked, I thought maybe they should have had a parade down King Street. Oh, poor, we're losing Monique, sort of thing. But business goes on. Big business goes on. So it didn't matter how many hours I was putting in there. I was just a number. And sometimes that's hard to swallow, but for me, I had already made the decision I was leaving, and that my health was more important. But for some people, I think that they put the business first, thinking that the business will always put them first, and that's not necessarily the case. I think it's time that you put your health first, because without your health, you do not have anything else. And life isn't a dress rehearsal. This is the real deal. Like we have to make the most of it, and there's no and we all tend, and I'm as guilty of this one. I'm always going to do that tomorrow. I'm going to start on Monday. Those were always my two things, either tomorrow or Monday. Monday seems to be a great day to start everything. I don't know why, but no, you know what? Start today. Take the step you need. Do it today. Put yourself first, and get an action plan in place. Where do you see yourself in a year's time? If you see your health going, if you're not going to make any changes, what is your health going to look like in a year from now? Because we all have a default future. It's going to happen with or without a coach. But the road that you're on right now, can you see, is it benefiting you, or is it actually hurting you? And anybody's ever worked with a coach will know that a coach gets results.
yeah, I love what you said. Like, life is not a dress rehearsal. I've just been turning that over in my mind since you said it. And I'm going to be turning it over in my mind for a long time afterwards, I think, because I really like that. And I think it, like, kind of talking about always going to start on a Monday, always starting on a Monday. We're kind of at that time of year where people are not doing their New Year's resolutions, which, like, I'm totally guilty for as well. I set a dozen resolutions, and then if I stick with one, I'm like, good for me. But
yeah,
it's I think a lot of the times, and we've had previous guests on talking about how New Year's resolutions can make people feel really bad about themselves when they don't accomplish them, and then it's like, oh well, I'll try again next year. But I kind of, what you were saying is that each day, each moment is a new opportunity to start putting yourself first and a new opportunity to start, living the life that you want to live, which I think is really great, especially this time of year where people might be going, oh, well, didn't accomplish this. I'll try again next January.
And a lot of it is the mindset, because, and I use this with my clients too. I share this story, and I tell them, when you said about life isn't a dress rehearsal, that'll stick with you now. The things I say to people, it sticks. Like, you can't unhear what I say as a coach. So when you're going for the pop versus the water, you're like, oh, there's Monique in my head, and you grab water. But as an example, if you were driving down and it's pitch black at night and you're driving down the road, and all of a sudden you're in the car, your headlights go out and you lose all of your dash. So it's pitch black. We tend to stop. Of course, that's a protective measure. You don't know what's ahead of you, so you stop. And the mind works like that. So if you are on any type of health program, if you cannot show your mind where you are going, where you want to be, it puts up all these roadblocks because, hey, I'm scared. I don't know where you're taking me. So again, you have to, you're playing a game. You're playing a game with your mind in the sense that you are telling your mind where you want to go. This is how we're going to get there, and we're going to be safe. And because it's self-sabotage. If your mind doesn't know where you're taking it, it's like going down that road and being pitch black, losing your lights. It's going to stop you. And so that's one of the reasons why, for the first part of my program, I really do coach the mental health portion of it and getting people in the right mindset. You have to believe that you deserve it. You have to want it, and you have to start living it from the day you start the program.
Yeah. And I think this is what I tell people sometimes in terms of like, fake it till you make it, and how that they can be helpful in some ways and unhelpful in others, which is really difficult. But I feel like sometimes with things like self-care, doing self-care and being compassionate to yourself is one of those things where you can do the act of self-care without feeling it. And if you do the act enough, eventually that feeling will come. Does that make sense?
Oh, it really does. And again, because I was somebody that I just didn't see the value in self-care because I had never done it. I used to think people were selfish if you did that. How can you take that time and do that? Now, the easy buttons from Staples, I've got to get myself one because my way I unwind is I do soak in a hot tub with the candles, the music going, and I'm meditating, right? That is my self-care. I love it. And now, because I've been focusing on this for so long and working with the Health Coach Institute, I almost have a mental easy button to the point that when things are getting hectic and maybe self-sabotage is starting to show up in my life, I get a visual where I have to hit that easy button, and that tells me you need to stop, and tonight you need to soak in the tub. And it's it really does. It keeps me on track. And for me, like I tell my clients, I'm your guardrail when it comes to your journey, your health journey. So, you're going down the highway and you kind of veer off and maybe you're getting a little off track and then you run into that guardrail. That's me. And I just kind of guide you back. But you work together as a team. But mental health is a big portion of overall health because the mind believes whatever we tell it.
Yeah. And I think that power of positive self-talk, it's such a tricky thing for me working in mental health because there are some people who believe like this self-talk thing is useless. Mental health is all medication. And then there are some people who believe the opposite, where it's like this medication is useless. It's all self-talk. And in my philosophy, I fall, kind of somewhere in the middle of the social model and the medical model sort of thing. But I do really think that like self-talk is such an important skill that people can learn, but it's not often framed like that. We talk about, oh, this person is really positive, or oh, this person is really negative, as if those are stable, consistent qualities in a person, as opposed to skills that we can learn.
Oh, very. You can teach anyone that, and I have to laugh because I have a 4-year-old grandson, and I am teaching him now. Like I want him in his own head thinking that he's 4 and he's this little tiny fella, but he thinks he's big, strong, and confident. When he looks in the mirror, that's what he sees. I am big, strong, and confident, and because that's half of the battle. Now, the medication, some people require medication, and it, again, just like you said, it works together. With coaches, when you go to your doctor and your doctor says, I need you to do A, B, and C, what the coach does is then says, okay, did you do A? No, how come? Oh, well, we got to make sure we get A done. Did you do B? Let's schedule B for Tuesday. And the coach works with doctors, or I've got some clients that they're in Weight Watchers. So Weight Watchers gives them all the dietary program, and I just stand beside them and coach them and get them to follow through on their commitment to that program. But I think that it's important to recognize that just positive talk or positive inner dialogue isn't going to solve all the problems. You work together as a team. We don't countries don't send their troops off to battle alone. You form an accountability team, and it can be all, doctors, dietitians, mental health professionals. The coach just helps with whatever information they're giving you, or whatever guidance they're telling you you should do, because maybe you only see them once a month, maybe you only see them, every 6 months. We keep you on track until your next appointment. We keep the ball, the movement going forward, because if you're not going forward, you're going backwards. There's there's 2 ways to go.
And I like what you said about kind of, needing that team, because I think we live in a society that's very individualistic, the man is an island kind of thing. And I really am a believer that, humans are social creatures, and it's okay to need one another. It's okay to need someone to be your cheerleader, and to need someone to keep you accountable, and to I really believe that it's okay to need a team and to be part of a team, to need people and have other people need you, as opposed to, you're on your own, figure it out.
Yeah, no, an accountability team, that's what gets results. They're there, there's times that you're weak. There's times that you're down on your knees and you need that hand up. Maybe you feel like you're in the deep end of the pool. Well, you can tread water there for as long as you want until you get weak and go under. Or you can reach your hand out and grab onto your accountability team, and they get you to solid ground pretty quick, and you move forward. And you can really elevate your success and escalate it a lot quicker when you've got a strong support team.
All right. And I can't believe we are almost out of time, which is wild. It has absolutely flown by. So if someone is watching this and they're thinking, wow, health coaching, that's something maybe I've been thinking about, or something that never occurred to me until this moment, but now I'm really interested in, and so they want to reach out to you to find more information, how can someone do that?
I've got a Facebook group, Monique Ellis Health Coaching. Keep it simple. Or they can email me, Monique Ellis Health Coaching @gmail.com.
Okay, fabulous. So Monique, thank you so much for being on the show. It was an absolute pleasure to have you. And I just keep doing the work that you're doing and helping other people, because it sounds like you're making a really big difference. So I really appreciate you being on the show. And if you're watching this show and you're thinking, wow, Crazy Talk is a fun show with fun people, you are absolutely correct. If you want to see future episodes, or if you want to look back and see some of our past episodes, you can catch them all on my Facebook page at facebook.com/LeeThomasSpeaks. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and we will see you next week, next Saturday at 12:30 Atlantic time. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Lee.